It's John Bowden from Rock History Music. First of all, let me just say, I love interviewing authors who just teach me so much. Anybody who does YouTube and covers rock and roll, we are research pigs. We love getting information. I certainly got a lot from this book we're featuring today, Rush at 50. It's brand new, it's available, it's by Daniel Buckspan, whose name you might know. Daniel Buckspan is a seasoned American writer and journalist with over 25 years of experience. He specializes in music and pop culture, and you might have seen him on TV on CNBC, The Daily Beast. Buckspan is good at what he does. His books include The Encyclopedia of Heavy Metal, which came out in 2003, The Encyclopedia of New Wave in 2012, Woodstock, 50 Years of Peace and Music in 2019, Ozzy at 75, which came out in 2023, and the latest, Rush at 50. Keep in mind, he's working on a new book which will be coming out in September, Iron Maiden at 50. You can pre-order it at his website. The links are in the description of this video. But today we're talking about Rush and the unlikely album that really made them a household name. It was a surprise hit. Today we're talking 2112, which was released March of 1976. Hear from the label to you better straighten up and fly right because that's the thing. I mean, I talked to Terry about this of going, well, you just like, it's like a stubborn teenager who's got the only stubborn teenager with a clear view going, no, if we're going down doing, going into 2112, I'm going, that takes chutzpah, man.
That's huge balls. Absolutely. I just wrote the first sample chapter for the 2112 book. And the chapter is called 2112 was the greatest punk rock album of 1976. And that's beating the first Ramones album, Patti Smith, all those people. And it's not because of how it sounds. It's like the record company, the forces of commercialism, all of it are like you said, straighten up and fly right. And they extended their warmest middle finger salute to those people and did the sprawling epic instead. Punk music is not known for sprawling epics, but the attitude of like, you cannot tell us what to do. You cannot contain us. We're going to do exactly what we want. And if we go down pursuing our vision, then fine. That's there. I mean, I've been in bands where people were like, oh, we should really listen to like, what's popular now and all that kind of thing. And it always comes out sounding very contrived. There have been a lot of bands who like they would make some record that was seen as like a misstep. So the next one they would go like, shiny production and sparkle, like everything, all that. And it didn't sound like them.
High points on that album, 2112.
Well, one high point is side one, right there. Again, that whole album, I have to say, like from top to bottom, there are a couple of songs on side two that are a little I would say. Like Lessons, I would not say is my favorite Rush song. There's nothing wrong with it, but just compared to the other material on the record, it doesn't fare as well. Passage to Bangkok is a fantastic pot anthem. Although I believe the little like da na 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 is perhaps not entirely politically correct at this point, like not entirely woke at this moment, I would say. Uh, but it strikes me as like good natured, and they weren't trying to like you know be racist against Asians. When they made that song, I believe that was the furthest thing from their minds. Something for Nothing is a song I have sort of like taken up as my personal mantle and like just my sort of like motto in life is, what you own is your own kingdom, what you do is your own glory, what you love is your own power, what you live is your own story. When I heard that, I was like, that's it. That's it. That's exactly how I want to live. And it's exactly like what's important to me. And Rush just generally were huge. Like the whole theme of the band was like you just do it your own way. But you have to be the person to go out there and do it. No one will do it for you. So if you want to be a great author with many books, yes, do it. Go. No one is stopping you. But you have to actually get up in the morning and do it. Which I think for a lot of people, that's where you lose them. Is because I think a lot
Every
of people
time.
just want to be an
The
author.
big dream,
I
well, the big dreamers. Oh, there's that element of you've got to get off your ass and do it. The big.
you must wake up or nothing is going to happen. But, again, I think that's kind of a punk rock ethos in some ways, where it's like, well, I know what I'm doing and I like what I'm doing. So, maybe everyone else is not crazy about it, but this is a fulfilling life for me. Uh, I mean, that song got its hooks in me like decades ago. And I've been through a lot in my life. A lot of things have changed. It has not lost a shred of relevance for me. Most of their stuff, I would say, has not lost any relevance for me. Like I go back to it over and over again, and it's still just as good as it was the last 100 times, because it's work of quality and it really holds up, and they really put a lot of thought into it. Their artistic instincts were coming from the right place. And we're at a point now in history where it's like 50 years on from a lot of things, and it's like, okay, what's held up now? What are people still listening to now? And what is still quality and still has meaning in, the year of our Lord 2025, which was probably the furthest thing from their minds when they were writing this music is, oh, this will hold up in 50 years. Time has to prove that. And I believe, time has, the jury is in, and that's all timeless stuff. And I think people will still be listening. They will still be listening to 2112 in 2112. In my opinion, it will still have meaning, as long as you have like, teenage kids who feel opposed, that record will continue to sell. That's it. And they nailed it. They captured it perfectly.
Are you surprised looking back at 2112? As much as I love that record, and I got into it a little later, I was surprised that that worked. I'm going because it didn't have to work. I mean, they were going, screw you, we're going to do this.
No, I mean, when I first heard it, I already knew of Rush as like this famous band that had some records out already. I'm a little younger, so I learned about them in the 80s. Uh, but I mean, including their 70s stuff and all that. Um, so, to me, the first time I heard they were already like this fully formed concept in my mind, and all my friends loved them and everything. So I didn't really think about it in terms of like, how would the public react to something like this? I listen to it now and I'm like, wow, it is bananas that this even got made. And this is so utterly unlike any other record before or since, even by them, that it just can't help but stand out. You know what I mean? I think there are little things also in the performance, and there's a lot of energy coming through, a lot of emotion coming through. That definitely helps too. That will definitely get you if you make a record and people feel like this is sincere, the artist means this. You will win a fan for life, probably, if they feel like, wow, okay, well, he like Neil Young. I'm huge into Neil Young. 75% of the records he's made, I would say, are garbage. But that 25% with, like Harvest and After the Gold Rush and all, I will be listening to those records till I die.
Don't forget trans.
I'm beginning to kind of appreciate trans, actually.
Really?
Uh,
I played
well,
it on the radio when I first got into radio.
all anyone ever told me was that his two worst albums, and I must never listen to them, are Trans and On the Beach. And the first time I heard On the Beach, it became my favorite record. The
That's a
second I
great
heard it,
record.
I think a lot of people just can't handle side two. It's just too much of a downer. And actually, when it was played for me, the person made a mistake and put on side two first. So that was the first thing I heard. And that's the non-commercial, like, okay, we're really doing some heroin now vibe side. And I loved it instantly. And that was the same night I discovered how much I love Willie Nelson. Also, it was just that was a good night for me. Um, but the records that Neil Young made that were good, that really mattered, and he has not made one in several decades, I'm sorry to say, uh, are they're good enough that they just stick with you no matter what he does. So he can put out 75 terrible records and it will never affect, how I feel about, a song like Expecting to Fly by Buffalo Springfield, or, just there's work he's done that's just like that's as good as it gets. You cannot ask for better music. And that like makes Fork in the Road and the record he did with the horn section. He's made some stuff I just can't deal with. I'm sorry. But the good stuff was so good that it doesn't matter. And with Rush, I feel like it's kind of the same way. It was like everything here is just so good and is so well made that even like the bits that don't connect with me or whatever are not enough to compromise how I feel about it because the good stuff is just too good. And I could when I was done with Rush at 50, the minute I was finished with it, I thought I was going to need like some kind of like a Rush fast, because I'd heard too much of it and
Yeah.
would get sick of the songs. I listened to the Exit Stage Left version of Xanadu, and I was still like, like moving my head and all. It never went away. And even writing a whole book about them has not diminished my interest one bit, Guy Charbonneau, who was the sound engineer on a couple of their live albums, I talked to him for that book, and when I told him I was doing another book about them, he told me I was crazy. And like that was literally the word he used. And I was like, yes, you're right. I'm crazy. I will just keep doing this forever. It wouldn't surprise me if I finish the 2112 book and they're like, okay, now do a moving pictures book. I'd be like, okay, and you don't get a lot of chances to do this in life. That's the thing. It's like I realize these are really rare opportunities that I'm lucky to have. And, yes, it's all part of building a career for me and that sort of thing, but it's like there are not a lot of people out there on the street asking my opinion of Test for Echo. It doesn't happen. No one cares. This is like my little opportunity to talk about what it's all meant for me.
Yeah.
And that's a luxury. And I'm absolutely the luckiest person on earth to get to do this. I really feel that way about it.
What are your other books?
Encyclopedia of Heavy Metal, Encyclopedia of New Wave, The Art of Brutal Legend, The Essential Wit of the World's Funniest People, then Ozzy at 75, and Rush at 50 is what's out right now. And there are two things coming.
You, as a writer, you must be doing better work. I mean, it just usually moves that way.
The way I really feel about it, honestly, is that even though it was my sixth published book, Ozzy at 75 was my first book because it really represented, I had finally made this decision of like, I mean, I still do freelance work for other clients just to make ends meet, but it was at that point where I was like, you know what? I've tried to sell out for years. I've tried the corporate thing. I've done all of it. It is not for me. And what I need to do is become, this kind of writer and just go into it as hard as possible and make the sacrifice, because it was a big financial hit to decide to do that.
Hmm.
But it was like, it was very much inspired by I'm not getting any younger, and what I feel like that a lot of people think that's like a kind of a fatalistic mindset, but I think it's actually very liberating.
Yeah.
And it just frees you to be like, well, I don't know, I'll do this thing that I just have always kind of gravitated towards. Um, and I'm having the time of my life now, honestly, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah, but I mean, it takes time to get there, and your whole adulthood, you're kind of working out what do I really want to do, and what am I really good at, and what's kind of a fantasy that I should abandon. That it's in your 50s when you really start making the cuts,
Yeah.
and really stop engaging in things that are not worth your time and are not productive. Like right now, my life is my family, my books. That's my life right now. And it took a lot to just whittle it down to realize just those are what my priorities are. Um, I don't know if you have kids, but having a kid will about 50% of the things you worry about in life are just off the table the minute they hand you that baby.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like I owe it to my family also to be happy in what I'm doing. So they're not coming home to some miserable asshole who they don't want to live with. I feel from your nodding that you can sort of relate to some of what I'm saying.
Well, being
And
discerning is the biggest thing for me of going, like you said, getting things out of the way. When you said that it's your work and your family, I'm going, man, I'm there. I'm there with you, brother.
yeah, it's surprising it took me as long as it did to figure that out though, because it's like it's two things. That's it, that's it.
Yeah.
But it's easy to get mired in other nonsense that doesn't really help you.
You could write the quintessential Zeppelin book with a little Mensa, a little spot of the Mensa guys in there.
I would love to do it all. Led Zeppelin are notoriously really difficult with independent, unofficial sources wanting to write about them. They really don't like that.
Yeah.
Ozzy Osbourne's management sued us for my Ozzy book, in fact, or at least they sent us a threatening letter. There are a lot of artists out there who are really like they clamp down on everything and they do not care for like uh yutzes like myself, opining on their great career because they want to be in control of how people
Yeah.
see them. Jimmy Page was like notoriously picky about, oh, I can see a little belly in that photo. We're not using it. Like he really had like, vice grip control over everything. Rush, I think, are not really interested in like that in the whole like sort of like celebrity side of it. I've just never gotten that sense from them. They're to me, they really are just about the music and the fans and a direct line between the two of them. Where I think like Led Zeppelin was trying to put forth this persona that was more had more mystique to it, maybe. Rush were never trying to be mysterious for a minute. And again, I think that's great. Because there was no pretense about what they did, no artifice about what they did. It was a very pure expression all the time. Um, and I know the first record got like a lot of people heard it and were like, "Oh, what's this new Led Zeppelin record?"
Yeah.
But I don't think the first record sounds like them. I don't think anything they've done sounds like them, in fact.
I never
But
got that. I never got that at all because I heard that over and over again. I'm going,
people are hearing a high voice.
yeah.
That's it. That's the answer. A lot of those kinds of things, I find the answer is actually like not that complicated at all, but is actually really like one-dimensional and stupid. And I just didn't think in those terms, and I should have, because then I would have found the answer immediately. But it's mostly like, oh, okay, so the heavy guitars, there's a high voice, must be Led Zeppelin. Uh, and a lot of people reacted that way. I don't hear it at all. I not at all. But I mean, one guy in my book who would do sound for Rush later was like, "Yeah, first time I heard it on the radio, Led Zeppelin. I was sure of it. New album, great." So, it's even among the discerning that mistake could be made.
John Bowden from Rocky Street Music. Just to let you know that Daniel and I talked for over 2 hours. There's a lot more parts to this one. And the nice thing about YouTube right now is we're releasing 20-minute videos. It seems to be the perfect time. So we're splitting this one up into about 5 different pieces where we talk about the early parts of Rush and John Rutsey, Terry Brown coming in, Caress of Steel, Fly By Night, Permanent Waves, Moving Pictures. We've got it all. And he's such an amazing writer. And as I said in the beginning of the video, I learned so much from just talking to Daniel Buxbaum. I mean, he just has an encyclopedic mind. So in the next few days, probably in about less than a week, we'll have part 2. We'll go through the different phases of Rush. And I think we're all going to learn an awful lot. What a great mind he has. There are links in the description if you want to pick up this book, the new Iron Maiden book, which comes out later this year, and any of the other books. He's got a great website. Remember, if you want to support the channel, you can make a donation. There's a PayPal link at the very top of the description. Join our Patreon. There are literally hundreds of clips on Patreon right now that have not seen the light of day on YouTube. We haven't put them up yet. So for $6 and change, you can get access to all these videos that have not been put up yet. You'll see them first. Go to our swag store. People will think you're on staff and get a Rock History Music t-shirt or cap or jacket. But remember, it's important if you subscribe, and we want you to click the bell notification so you don't miss any videos that we put out. And we have other channels. The links are in the description. But click that bell notification, comment on our videos, like them, and share them on social media. I'm John Book. This is Rock History Music. Take good care of yourself.